Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Jeff and today we're going to have some fun diving into what I think are the 10 most fun cards from Kaldheim, and I am super excited for these ones. So I already did a top 10. It ended up being like a top 20 of my what I think are the best cards for standard, best cards from Kaldheim, and this is all about trying to jump into the things that I think are the most fun, the things that can bring the most joy to me and to you with Magic the Gathering, because Magic is super fun. And so we're gonna dive right into it. I don't necessarily have an order with these ones. These are just what I like. A couple honorable mentions kind of with it, but the top 10, here we go. I already did a full video on Maskwood Nexus, but Maskwood Nexus, 4 mana creatures you control are every creature type. The same is true for creature spells you control and creature cards you own that aren't on the battlefield. And then you can pay 3, tap it, create a 2/2 blue Shapeshifter creature token with Changeling, which is creature of every type. So this card is just so fun. I mean, like, I don't know if there's anything that's more fun than that in Magic, where it opens up so many possibilities where you can, your merfolk are no longer merfolk. They are also angels and knights and whatever it is you want it to be. Maskwood Nexus opens up this ability for you to mix 2 tribal decks together. And honestly, probably what I'm going to end up doing is turning Tuesday into like Tribal Tuesday or something, just because I feel like I can forever with this card create shenanigans. It's full of shenaniganery. And so I'm really excited for Maskwood Nexus. I did a whole video on it before, and there's a lot of different things that are possible with it. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this one today because there's a lot of other ones I want to dive into and have a little bit more fun with here. So the first one, kind of the next first one, is Essica God of the Tree. I'm so excited for this card, just because I think that with all the pathway lands that are out now, with a bunch of these effects where you can add mana of any color, with Essica on the front side of it, where it's a 3 mana god with vigilance and can tap to add mana of any color. Other legendary creatures you control have vigilance and add mana of any color. I kind of forgot that they have vigilance as well. That actually might be pretty good. I honestly, with everything else on this card, I kind of forgot about that one little line of text. It actually could be nice. But there's a lot of these like 5 color cards decks that might be possible now, which is pretty fun. And Prismatic Bridge, just so fun. So at the beginning of your upkeep, it costs Wooburg to play it: white, blue, black, red, green. Wooburg, the first letters of each of those. At the beginning of each of your upkeep, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature or planeswalker card. Put that card on the battlefield and the rest on the bottom of your library in random order. So you get to put a free creature or planeswalker from your deck onto the battlefield every time. And I mean, if you're getting just like a free Essica out of it, like Essica itself is not that powerful of a creature. A 3 mana 1/4, like, that's definitely the worst side of what this deck can do. But if you're playing just like Essica, the Prismatic Bridge, a bunch of ramp spells in the early game, maybe some removal spells, a lot of things that aren't creatures or planeswalkers, and then on the top end, instead, all you have is like, I mean, if we're in historic, Ulamog, or, you know, like whatever crazy thing you can have, Ugin, which is in standard, or any of the new planeswalkers, any of the old ones, Garruk. There's just so many busted things you can have hit on your upkeep with Prismatic Bridge. So I think it actually is, first off, a legitimate, pretty powerful card that I think a lot of people are underrating right now, just for the sake of that it is random. You don't get exactly what you want out of it, but it's also I get it every single turn if you don't deal with this, and it's going to be something busted. You can build your deck to have this be busted, and yeah, you might hit another Essica, which, I mean, even if you did hit Essica, if you didn't have the first one, then you just get some more ramp. You get to do other things, and you have ramp to get up to your 6 mana, 7 mana, other big spells that you can also play from hand. So I am really excited for this card. I think it's a blast. I love the randomness type of idea of like, hey, what is it that I'm going to get? I get something. It's going to be fun. It's going to be huge. It's an Ugin, sweet. Or it's, you know, Garruk, or it's Narset, or whatever else is kind of out there. Narset's gone now, but I'm just excited for it. I think this is the fun type of stuff that we can run into. Vornaclex, honestly, that's probably a really fun way to go with this too, is like play like Vornaclex, big planeswalkers that can ultimate right away, and you just try to get one or the other to kind of hit at the right times. If you can hit Vornaclex with this on the upkeep, then you play any planeswalker from hand, gets its ultimate immediately. And if it's like, you know, Nicol Bolas, the Dragon God, I'm trying to think of just like what are the things out there. There's so many things you can play that just win the game immediately. Sorry, I've talked a lot about historic. I play a lot of historic where a lot of other people don't. If you guys like that kind of content, definitely subscribe so you can see more of it. but I also do try to stick a lot with standard, especially with new cards coming out as well. So anyway, there's a lot of exciting stuff. Let's jump into some other things with Orvar the All-Form. Dude, oh man, I'm just gonna be geeking out throughout this whole video. So sorry if that's off-putting to you, but there's so many fun things here. So 4 mana, 3/3 Shapeshifter with Changeling. It's creatures of every single type. Which is cool because this means that any deck that is a creature heavy deck, or that's creature or a type tribal deck that has blue in it and 4 mana, that you can get up to 4 mana, then this can go into the deck. So like, anyway, that's fun. And then whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, if it targets one or more other permanents you control, create a token that's a copy of one of those permanents. So you have to have instants and sorceries to target. This is actually a little bit harder to do when it comes to like enchantments. Like there's not a lot of instants and sorceries that target your own enchantments very easily or well. Like a lot of things like the runes, I wish that this worked with the rune cards because those can go into literally anything. This can also create copies of lands. So if you do have instants or sorceries that target your lands somehow, or do type of things, and again, I'm not sure like which ones actually create like targeted copies of things like that, but I'm sure there's lots of stuff throughout Magic history, and there's a lot of cards that we probably don't even know about very well that do this stuff. Anyway, you can make a lot of extra copies, and then when a spell or ability an opponent controls cause you to discard a card, create a token that's a copy of target permanent. That's actually pretty fun. There is a Turgid that's coming out as well, that this might just be like kind of like the hard counter for that deck of forcing you to discard lots of things, forcing you to do whatever. Yeah, they might get a copy of that discard thing, but you also get a copy of the permanent as well as it gets discarded. There's just a lot of cool things you can do with that. I think that side of the ability is probably one that is least recognized, whatever, but also might be one of the most powerful sides of Orvar. Just like discard stops working being as good. If someone has a duress for your Embercleave and you have an Orvar, I'm not sure why you put Orvar in an Embercleave deck, because seriously, but you might, and then all of a sudden you get a free Embercleave out of it. So I like this one. I'm really excited for Orvar. I think it's a really cool card and can be broken in so many ways that I don't know where to begin with it, honestly, because any of the ways are going to be a little bit difficult to break with it. But as soon as it becomes broken, as soon as you do the busted thing that Orvar can do, it's really, really busted. And so that's what I'm excited for. I did a video kind of around Beamslitter Mage, where it was all about the cards that actually do target your own creatures, because Beamslitter Mage kind of has that whole thing with Kiln Fiend. And Orvar can kind of go into that deck, but it also slows it down so much. I'm not sure that's kind of thing. But I did showcase a lot of the cards that are good and well, can be played well, that target creatures that you control. So I kind of went into that a little bit. Let's jump into Reflections of Littjara. This one's fun. So 5 mana, as enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. And if you have things like Maskwood Nexus, where everything is every creature type, then you just choose, Will of the Wisp or whatever random creature type you want to, or something that you actually do have, if it's angels, giants, whatever. But then whenever you cast a spell of the chosen type, you copy that spell. And so that's pretty cool. There are actually some spells that aren't permanents, that aren't creatures, because you're choosing a creature type. There are I believe there's vampire spells. There's a few different versions of those kinds of things in the past, where it actually is like an elf spell, or I don't remember exactly where those come from. Those are not necessarily in standard. I can't remember if there was one printed with this one, but so you could end up copying spells that are still creature types, like they're vampire instants or sorceries. But for the most part, you're going to be casting creatures and get extra copies of them. Really fun stuff you can do with that. There's definitely any kind of ETB effect where you can get multiples of any kind of lords that you want to be casting. Like that's really nice. Like if you're playing this with the Knights Lord, and all of a sudden everything is +2/+2. I think also this is probably pretty good in I think there is kind of like a Azorius Angels deck with Lavinia and the Righteous Angel. And Righteous Angel being able to make extra copies of itself when it's coming out. It enters the battlefield, the copy comes out first, then the main card will come out, gain you 4 life immediately. If it gets you over 7 life over your starting life total, then you immediately have +4/+4 for all of your creatures. There's just some really fun, crazy cards that you can play with this. So yeah, I'm excited. Reflections of Littjara, this is a card to break. Issue with it, why it's more of a fun card rather than a competitive card, is that it's 5 mana, do nothing, which turn 4 do nothing cards have been always historically kind of harder to play. This is turn 5, do nothing for, you know, a turn or two. And that's really difficult to do. But I think that you almost rank this on the same level as like Mirror March. I think that you kind of like, okay, if Mirror March still had a way to do some things, and there were decks that can be broken in, and it's a powerful enough effect you can still win games. I think you kind of rank this around that same level of Mirror March. It's a cheaper version of Mirror March. It's an upgraded version of Panharmonicon kind of a thing, you know, and it does have to stay within a creature type as a restriction, but it kind of fits right in the realm of those two. And I'm happy with that. I'm fine with that. It's pretty fun stuff. All right, diving into In Search of Greatness. 2 mana enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may cast a permanent spell from your hand with converted mana costs equal to 1 plus the highest converted mana cost among other permanents you control without paying its mana cost. If you don't, scry 1. So this is pretty cool. So at the beginning of your upkeep, you may cast a permanent spell from your hand. The thing I like about this card is it's just dealing with permanents. You can put this into so many different type of decks. Like if it is just like enchantment based or anything else, which enchantment based, you probably want to be doing that because it's a way to actually make sure that you are continually putting out permanents. There's just so many busted things you can end up doing with this. At the beginning of upkeep, you just get a free spell to cast basically. And it's something that's 1 plus what you've already got. So it's something decent. It does not work, I believe, with In Search of Greatness. So I believe, let me read it through again. So maybe it does it. So at the beginning of your upkeep, you may cast a permanent spell from your hand with converted cost equal to 1 plus the highest converted cost card cost among other permanents you control. There it is. Yeah. So other permanents you control. So it has to. So just playing In Search of Greatness, it doesn't mean that on turn 3 you immediately get a free 3 CMC spell and then something else. And so with this, you basically want to have In Search of Greatness available, and basically just have the ability to have maybe a 1-drop initially, have a free 2-drop spell that you can cast, and just have like a good curve. And that's where I feel like this is really powerful. Is I think this is not necessarily a 4 of, but it's like a 2 of in any deck that has a good curve already. You play this on turn 2 and you can kind of just go up the curve and kind of do whatever you have. If you have permanents on the battlefield that is stuck and you have something good in hand, great, you have it. I don't think this quite gets into the competitive realm necessarily because of the inconsistency of it. It might just be a turn 2 do nothing. But at the same time though, even if you do nothing, you get to scry. So that's the thing. If you don't get to do this, you can just scry as well. If you are empty-handed, you can scry, try to make sure you have it. It's at your upkeep, so you can actually scry away a bad card on your upkeep if you don't have something good on top. So I think this actually adds a lot of extra value to green decks in general, which it is double green. But even being double green, you don't have to play this on turn 2. You can play it a little bit later and it still gets value for you overall. It does only take the highest converted mana cost, so you can't ever do less than that. So I think the best way to play this is try to get something out on turn 1, like a Gilded Goose, play Search for Greatness on turn 2, try to hit some other 2-drop for free with this, Trail of Crumbs, and then you play out, Love Struck Beast or whatever. So then you have a 3-drop that's out on the battlefield, and then you get a free Wicked Wolf off the Left Struck Beast, and then you have the mana to be able to cast other things. Like that's the kind of thing that In Search of Greatness can do. And I'm really excited for it. It's really fun, as well as just the squirrel being in the art. Tibalt Chicory, super fun card too. 2 mana instant counter target spell. You never see that exact text without like caveats, or that's just like, I love how there's just like a period after that. Counter target spell. You don't see that on red cards like ever. I don't think there is ever one. There's always like counter target blue spell, counter target whatever spell. And so it is kind of cool that just straight up counter target spell. And then there's a lot of text too as well. Then you choose 1, 2, or 3 at random. Its controller mills that many cards and then exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile a non-land card with different name than that spell. They may cast a card without paying its mana cost. Then they put the exile cards from the bottom of the library in random order. And so anything that's non-land, and they can cast whatever it is. Honestly, if you're up against like a control deck, this could let them go find another counter spell with this or whatever else. And so I'm not sure how good it is, because this could, you might be countering their their Teferi, and they find an Ugin off of this. So I'm not sure it's that amazing. I have seen people play this in pretty cool ways, countering their own spells. And in modern, Cascade becomes a pretty busted thing with this too. Cascade can do a lot of interesting things with everything, like the Tybalt that we have right now as well, which I mean everything with Tybalt might just be busted with Cascade, but the Valky, and then it turns into the Planeswalker Tybalt. You can actually cascade into the 2-mana version of it and then play the 7-mana version of it, and so there's just busted things that you can do, and so I'm excited. 12 Chicory is a fun one. We definitely will be playing it at some point, even if it's not smart for us to do so. And maybe we'll just like have the idea or have something that we can do. I don't know. There's fun things you can do with that. That's all I'm trying to say. Maybe what we do is we play only Tybalt's Chicories and Ugins in the deck, and then you find a Tybalt's Chicory. You have to find 2 of them. Cast one on someone else's spell, counter your own Tybalt's Chicory, mill yourself, and then try to find, and then if you find another Tybalt's Chicory, you counter the other Tybalt's Chicory, go through until you find an Ugin. And so it could be a turn 4 Ugin. There's way better ways to do that, but you can do that. All right, that's a bad idea. All right, anyway, Realm Walker, 3 mana, Shapeshifter, 2/3 changeling. As it enters the battlefield, you choose creature type. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may cast creature spells from the chosen type from the top of your library. I think that ultimately this is just kind of a placeholder for all changelings, all the changelings that are good. And this is just one of the best changelings. It is totally playable in any creature deck that can splash green, and it's very splashable too. And green typically does be pretty splashable as well. It adds a lot of mana ramp that usually is mana of any color as well. So Realm Walker, I think just being able to create any kind of mana source, being able to play things from the top of your library that's any creature type, it just gets slotted into giants maybe. You know, like there's a red-green giants deck that runs all of the changelings in green and all of the giants in red. That might just be a really powerful deck. And Realm Walker just kind of fits within that. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this one. I think you guys get it. It's good value. It keeps any creature. It turns any tribal deck into having some sort of card advantage off the top of the library, which is huge. Essica's Chariot. This is one that I'm actually really hyped for, and I think is kind of a sleeper right now. I don't think that people are giving it the value that it deserves, or a recognition that it deserves here. 4 mana, 4/4. It enters the battlefield. You create 2/2 green cat creature tokens. So already for 4 mana, being able to just create 2/2s is something that has been done in the past, and actually, while never seen play in like constructed necessarily, it's still a powerful effect. Like it is something where it's like having 2/2s on the battlefield. Let's think of there's History of Benalia was a card that was played for forever and has done really well. It was a 3 mana spell that ended up basically creating 2/2s for you with a little bit of extra upside, and for 3 mana and pretty hard to cast, and it still was really powerful. This kind of does the same type of thing, and you immediately get the 2/2s right away. It's 1 mana more, but whenever Essica's a Chariot attacks, it can be crewed up by the creatures that you created, have it be blockers immediately for something that's good. But whenever it attacks, create a token that's a copy of target token you control. So you can swing it with it, create an extra cat token, which I'm not sure which tokens are the most busted here, but I mean, if you have a few extra tokens from Orvar, the All Form, or Reflections of Litjara, you can do some pretty fun shenaniganery with Essica's Chariot, where you have a lot of different tokens of things that you can that are already might be out, and you can make copies of those. So I'm super excited for this card. I think it's actually really good. It is definitely one of those where it's like, okay, it's turn 4, you don't actually have to attack with it turn 5, but you also don't like, this doesn't have a downside of like having to deal damage to an opponent. Like if you have any ways of making tokens that consistently get up to 4 power and crew, to be able to crew this, it just attacks and immediately makes copies of those things. It's a 4/4/2, so it can typically trade off with any blockers that'll come that it attacks in with. So even if you do end up losing Essica's Chariot, you're going to trade off with stuff. It is legendary, so sometimes you might want it to trade off and die, and then kill something on their side of the board and get to play another one, create 2 more 2/2 cats. Just make a really big wide token board. And so I think that this is actually a sleeper in some ways, and also just a really fun card. And so I'm really excited for that one. We'll see how it goes. We're getting towards the end of these ones. Number 9, Dream Devourer, 2 mana, 0/3 Demon Cleric. Which is cool that it's another Cleric. Honestly, I kind of forgot about that. Like the Cleric side of this actually might make it even more fun. Each non-land card in your hand without Foretell has Foretell. Its Foretell cost is equal to its mana cost reduced by 2. So if they have foretell in general, then you have the ability to pay 2 mana on your turn to exile. So yeah, during your turn, you may pay 2 and exile it from your hand face down, which it is paying the 2 just has to be done on your turn. You can do it at instant speed. So you can attack in with this whenever you foretell a card, it gets +2/+0 until their turn. So this is a 2 mana 2/3, which is already pretty good stats. And if you get up to turn 4 or whatever with this, and you don't have anything else you really need to cast or do anything, you can attack in and just have this become a 4/3, which does get in for lots of damage. You can put all of your hand into exile, which they can cast for cheaper. There are some cards that might be fun that's like harder to cast, like 2 4-mana spells at the same time. But if you foretell both of them on one turn, then get to cast both of them the turn afterwards, there's some pretty cool stuff that you can do with that. I'm not sure all of the shenanigans you could do with it right now. I haven't dug too deep into this, but I do think this is just a card that like is good and powerful. I think this is probably one of the more underrated ones where like I think people are trying to find, okay, where can I just put this into any foretell deck? I don't think you even have to do that. I think this is just a good value card, especially in a cleric deck where it's already a cleric that has higher toughness or whatever. I think that this just might be a 4 of in a cleric deck just for the sake of it being good and making anything cost less. Not everything needs to cost less or whatever, but still, it's just a powerful card. I like it. The ability to cast multiple things on a turn can be pretty good as well. And if you just need to make this a 4/3 really quick, or if you have 6 mana, it's massive. So I like it. It's a really good 2-drop. I think it's gonna be fun. And then Rally the Ranks is the last of the top 10. I do have a couple of his honorable mentions, just a couple this time instead of the hour-long one that I did with the top 10 cards. Rally the Ranks, 2 mana. As it enters the battlefield, choose creature type. Creature you control get the other chosen type gets +1/+1. This is our 2 mana lord for literally any deck now, and that's really cool. I think that it's cool that we have this, that just kind of the ability of, okay, instead of it always being like, it was always a 3 mana play to be able to like have any kind of permanent that wasn't a creature that give everything +1/+1. But if you look at favorable wins, there was a whole deck around just playing flyers and giving them +1/+1 with rally with I think it was not Rally the Wings. It was Favorable Winds. Yeah, Favorable Winds. And that was just powerful enough. Yeah, it helps that flyers are all evasive, and that definitely adds to it as well. But there's also downsides a lot of times to flyers. They don't have as high of toughness or power. They typically don't have haste or whatever. So being able to throw Rally of Ranks into any deck basically that has a common creature type, or even most of the cards being common creature types, becomes really powerful. Like, honestly, this is a really, really powerful effect. Being able to have this just on turn 2 and then turn 3 play 3 hasty creatures for 1-drops or something like that, like, suddenly becomes a really, really powerful board. And so I think Rally the Ranks can create a lot of fun stuff, and I'm really excited for it. I think that we're going to definitely be playing it here and there. Yeah, I'm excited. All right. Pyre of Heroes, basically this one didn't make the cut because we instead have In Search for Greatness. Like, this card is just better than Pyre of Heroes in general. But what Pyre of Hero does, 2 mana, tap it, sacrifice a creature, search your library for a creature card that shares a creature type with the sacrificed creature and has convert mana cost equal to 1 plus the creature's convert mana cost. Put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Activate this ability anytime you cast a sorcery. So Birthing Pod is a card that has been around for a while, and honestly, it was before my time that I've never really played with it a ton, but I know there's a lot of Birthing Pod type of decks, and it's basically this exact same concept, except you don't have to focus on it staying as a creature type. It's kind of In Search for Greatness, but it's all about creatures, and Masquerade Nexus basically turns this into a 2 mana Birthing Pod. And so I do think there's just a lot of fun stuff that can be happening here. I put it a little bit lower just because I don't know how to play this around this just yet. We already have had what's the ooze lady that they can already do similar effects, and there have been some fun decks out there, but I feel like there's just not the stuff in Arena right now to make it really busted. And so I like it, but I don't think it's necessarily fun for MTG Arena format, and so it's cool. I wanted to mention it. And then this is probably the other ones that are just kind of like, these are janky fun cards that I think are really cool. Svella, Ice Shaper, 3 mana, just can tap to create colorless snow artifact named Icy Manaless. And then you can also pay 8, tap it, look for the top 4 cards of your library. You may cast a spell from among them without paying its mana cost. So basically, I like the idea of just being able to keep tapping to make these artifacts like the Icy Manalith or whatever. And Replicating Ring, 3 mana, adds 1 mana of any color, basically is a Manalith. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a night counter onto Replicating Ring. Then if it has 8 or more of night counters on it, remove all of them and create 8 colorless snow artifact tokens named replicating ring. That actually is pretty fun. So I am kind of excited to just I want that to happen. Basically, I want to be playing Sevilla Ice Shaper, be making a bunch of icy manaless, get out replicating ring in the early game, and just like I want there to be like 30 icy manaless or you know, like these artifacts that tap for 1 mana of any color. I just want that to happen sometime. That sounds like fun shenanigans that I want to do. Totally janky, probably not very good. I want to do it though. So anyway, that's the end for this one. Let me know if there's any cards that I missed with this one. Put them down in the description below. Also check out the top 10 most competitive cards video that I put out as well. I'll try to put that in the link down below as well. And if you guys are excited for Kaldheim, make sure that you join in. Follow me on Twitch. I will be doing a live stream of a pre-release event on the 27th. Thank you to Wizards for sponsoring me for that. And so I'm not sure exactly my plans for that just yet. People will be streaming it all day long. Follow me so you know when I go live. I'm going to try to stream early so that I can get videos up on YouTube first, and then I'll probably I might not even stream those videos or that gameplay. Then I'll probably be doing like a full longer 8 to 10 hour stream in the evening. And so follow me there. I'd appreciate it. Thank you so much. Have a good one. And like, subscribe, all that stuff. Do it, please. Thank you. And bye-bye.